Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's message. I'm Eric, the lead pastor of South Mountain Community Church. Thank you for taking just a bit of your time to be with us today. We exist for one reason, and that's to help as many people as possible take their next step towards becoming fully devoted and fully delighted followers of Jesus Christ. And I know that for so many people, church and even religion can be messy and oh so complicated, but it doesn't have to be that way. Here you can belong before you believe. So our hope is that your first visit with us is enjoyable, meaningful, and unlike the church experiences of your past. We also think that the best way to experience delight is with others in person. So SMCC is about more than just a Sunday sermon. We have 5 locations for you to choose from where you can connect with people in authentic community. We want every message you hear to engage your head, your heart, and your hands for a life of full delight. So with all of that in mind, enjoy today's message. Hey, well, welcome to what I am calling Intermission Sunday. If we haven't met or you are watching online later in the week, I'm Eric and I get to lead SMCC with some of the most amazing people that you will ever meet. And today we are between 2 places. We just finished our last series, Body Theology, and next week we are beginning our next series. It is called Contours, as we will be studying the shape of the Apostle John's first, second, and third letters in the New Testament, which means that today really is a standalone. It really is the perfect intermission moment. Last month, the family and I, we went to see Elf at the Hale Theater, and right in the middle of the presentation, they had an intermission. It was a chance to stand up and grab a snack and stretch your legs and prepare for what was to come, the rest of the show. The Hale Theater does intermission very well. As many of you know, I coach hockey, and in hockey there are 2 intermissions. It's a chance to pause and catch the breath that the team might need and really to discuss what's been going well, remind them of the game plan, and talk about what's to come. And so I figured today was the perfect Sunday for us to do just that. To pause, to take a little break, to circle up together, and to have an intermission together, talking about what it means to be SMCC, our game plan, and to talk about where we are headed by the year 2030. And over the last year or so, SMCC has seen explosive, rapid growth that's just so exciting. And with all the new people here, I just wanted to gather us together and talk about who we are and where we are headed. Now, because I love hockey, there will be 2 intermission Sundays between now and the reveal of our 2030 vision in the fall. Now, if you're a guest, this is a great moment to be here. If you're watching online and you're not sure you're ready to check out SMCC in person, this is a great day because we are going to show you our cards, and you can see if we live up to the things that we say we value. If you're new here over the last few months, this is a chance for you to really understand who we are and what it means to be SMCC and to perhaps consider how you want to participate. And if you've been here a long time, if you're a veteran, this is a wonderful moment for us to reinforce and remind ourselves of the things that are most important to us. Now, there are a lot of great churches around the globe. Churches who prioritize God's glory, churches who focus on the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, churches that hold to historical, biblical doctrine, truth, Bible-only theology. And yet there are a lot of churches that are very different. If you were to go to those churches, they would look different, they would feel different, they would function differently. And that's a good thing. We need a lot of different types of churches for lots of different types of people. And SMCC is unique. We are unique, and there's something that guides us as a group of people, something that shapes our uniqueness and how we do church, and we just call that our mission statement. Our mission statement, it drives us, it keeps us laser focused. Let me share that with you. We exist at SMCC. We exist to help as many people as possible take their next step towards becoming fully devoted and fully delighted followers of Jesus Christ. This mission statement, it really is a summary of the Great Commission and the joy that Jesus offers to us in life with Him. This Great Commission comes from Matthew chapter 28, where Jesus invites His followers to equip more followers, to make more disciples, going to the ends of the earth, going across the globe with the message of Jesus, inviting people to follow after Him, to take a next step with Him. So our mission statement doesn't have the word disciple in it, but it is all about discipleship and fulfilling the Great Commission. Now, because Jesus is full of joy, the life that we experience with him is marked by this type of joy. And because he knows what's best for us, when we follow him, his way leads to the type of life that we would desire. We call this devotion and delight. In that Great Commission, Jesus says, teach them to obey everything that I've commanded. This is a step of devotion as we seek to obey him. But because, like I said, he is full of joy, John 15, his joy can be in us, that joy can be complete. Then, of course, that devotion brings us to a place where delight is the byproduct of our obedience and devotion to him. So this is how our mission statement is built. It's built on these things. Sometimes we just call this being FD, fully devoted, fully delighted. So how do we do this? How do we accomplish this? What is our strategy for seeing this mission fulfilled? Well, it's pretty simple. We create intentional environments, enjoyable, excellent, great environments where people can experience an irresistible culture. Now, 2,000 years ago, the very first church in the Bible, they had found a way to create excellent environments and to be an irresistible culture. Because when you have great environments and when you have a great culture or community, it is so attractive, it is so appealing. People want to keep coming again and again and again. It was an irresistible culture. I want to take you to the book of Acts now. I want to take you to the book of Acts and read to you what this culture was like at the Jerusalem Community Church, really the first church we see in the Bible. Acts chapter 2, we see their community described like this. They devoted themselves. Devotion. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. So truth, it mattered immensely to them, and to fellowship. Community was prioritized. To the breaking of bread, they ate together in meals, and when they did it in the way that Jesus taught them to do it, remembering him. And to prayer, they prayed together. Everyone was filled with awe. Man, they were just so impressed. They found it so beautiful what was happening among them. They were in awe of who Jesus was and what he was doing in the lives of these people. At the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles, they were impressed by the evidence. They followed the evidence. It was that evidence that was drawing people in, giving them a reason to celebrate. Verse 44, all the believers were together. They had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. I mean, they were generous. They were doing what love required. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people, not just some of the people. People who were not like them wanted to be around them. They were well liked. They were trusted in the city. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. I just love the descriptors of that community. Glad and sincere hearts, generous, well liked by the people, growing by the thousands. They had created a culture of love. They had created an excellent environment. They were the happiest, most joy-filled, attractional community Jerusalem had ever seen. And people who did not believe in Jesus yet wanted to be around them, just wanted to be with them. They said this, I want what you have. I want what you've got. Can I belong with you? And over time, they decided, I'm in as well. I will follow Jesus too. And this created an irresistible culture. Christianity grew and it grew and it grew and it outlasted the Roman Empire. Wow. So what's gone wrong? Maybe you've been to a church that just didn't fit this description. Churches get this wrong, unfortunately, all of the time. And I know a lot of people who would love to connect with God, but the idea of going to church or the idea of going back to church just makes them sick because they've had a terrible experience where they felt manipulated or exploited or used or abused, and trust was just broken, and they don't want to go back. My dad describes his experience at church like this. It breaks my heart. He said this to me before. He said, son, why would I want to go to church when I just leave feeling worse about myself than I felt when I walked in? Man, it doesn't have to be that way. There was once a day that a church community, a Jesus community, was so attractional, so filled with joy, so compelling, that people just simply wanted to participate. Can we recapture that? Is it possible to be a church where people just long to belong regardless of what they believe? I think the answer to that question is yes. I think for 25 years, we've answered that question as a group of people with a resounding yes. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with us personally being formed by Jesus, being transformed by Him, finding our identity in Him. And then, of course, that spills over into all of our relationships, where we are the type of people who are known by our love, the type of people who are trusted in the community, trusted friends in relationship. And then from there, we have the opportunity to invite those people into environments, into a community where they can experience something different, experience what people experienced in Jerusalem. And that's where SMCC comes in. This is where we try to create environments that people just love to participate in. And so that's sort of the first part of our strategy. Okay? And so when we think about environments, we think of three essentials. Great environments have an appealing setting, an engaging presentation, and an inviting community. So here's the thing about environments. Our environments here at SMCC, they preach a message. They communicate a message before anyone ever gets on a stage or the microphones are turned on, because every environment actually communicates something. Let's just think about it for a little bit. There are some environments that when you walk into, they communicate a message, and that message is not enjoyable. It is unenjoyable. You ever been to a vacation spot, rented a vacation home perhaps, and you walk in and you want to walk out? Ants crawling around, it's dirty, it smells. That is not an engaging environment. It's not an excellent environment or an intentional environment. Perhaps you've been to one of those gas station bathrooms. You don't want to go back. Perhaps you've been to the DMV. These are all environments that communicate a message that is not enjoyable. I don't want to be there. But SMCC, to the best of our ability, as long as it's possible with us, we want the air to be right. We want the sound to be right, the temperature to be right. We want it to be clean in these spaces, and we want the people to be so welcoming, so inviting. We don't always get this perfect, but man, we strive. We strive to create environments like that, because those environments, they become irresistible over time. There's a comeback effect. People want to participate. There's a place in Utah that's kind of like that for me. It's Sundance. Perhaps you've been there. But they just get it right. The decor and the architecture, even the smells, the fireplace, the mountain setting. I just want to go back over and over again. They found a way to create an intentional environment with an irresistible culture. And we want to do that at SMCC as well. Now, the goal is not just an environment. The goal is not just an entertaining or engaging space. There's far more. The goal is to create a culture in that space. See, culture is judged gradually. Environments are judged instantly. We have to get the environments right so that people can then experience a Jesus culture. Now, culture is really the sum total. It's a fancy word, but it's the sum total of values and behaviors. And every establishment you walk into, every family, in fact, has a culture. Think about your favorite fast food joint. There's a culture. There are values that shape behaviors. And the moment you walk in, you experience their culture. Whether you know how to describe it or not, you're in it. And so at SMCC, we have 5 values that shape our behaviors. Here are those 5 cultural values. At SMCC, everyone can belong before they believe. Maturity is measured by how well we love God and others. At SMCC, the fully engaged attenders value and serve the guests. The Bible is taught in a helpful and hopeful way. And here's the 5th value. The process of God changing people from the inside out, well, it is honored. And we don't have time to talk about all of these. I just want to camp on that 5th one for a moment. We honor the process that God changes people from the inside out, which means wherever you are at in your spiritual journey, you can go at your pace. You can go at your speed. You can kick the tires for as long as you would like. We don't expect anything from you. We simply invite you to take your next step when you are ready. We do not control people. We control environments and to build a culture where these values are experienced. No one wants to be seen as someone's project. No one wants to be seen as someone who needs fixing. So we honor the process and we create space for God to simply do his thing, for God to do what he does, transforming us from the inside out as we see Jesus for who he is. So that's the recipe of how we do church. As quickly and as simply as possible, here's the recipe, here's the game plan. It looks like this. SMCC is the Great Commission. It's the Great Commission plus the joy of Jesus plus a specific culture plus irresistible, intentional environments. Great environments. Those four things make us who we are. The Great Commission to reach as many people as possible to make disciples. The joy of Jesus, the delight that he offers us, experienced in a culture of great environments. To put it as simply as possible, that's what we are trying to do here. So, how are we doing? How are we doing at that? Well, let me start with a couple stories. A few weeks back at one of our locations, I met Ashlyn. Ashlyn had spent a lot of time in religion. She'd been to a lot of different churches in the area, but for whatever reason, it didn't seem like a great fit for her. Didn't seem like a great fit. She didn't understand the language. She maybe felt like an outsider looking in, that she had to get it together first to participate. And then she walked through the doors of SMCC and said, this is just different. She'd been coming for just a few months, and she said, you know that thing about honor the process? I need that. That's why I'm here. I could tell you another story about a couple that used to attend the Draper campus up here for many years. They recently moved to Cedar City. There's no SMCC campus in that town yet. Who knows? Perhaps in the future. But they went to the St. George campus. I saw them last week, and they told me this: the moment we walked into the St. George campus, it just felt like home again. Wow. That is the byproduct of environments and culture. I could tell you about another story, a person who just DM'd me on Instagram and said the moment I walked into the doors of SMCC, I just felt like it was my place. That might seem a bit mysterious, but really it is the wonderful experience of our cultural values that we all have been able to create. We've created a culture around those values. I could tell you the story of Kaylin, who is 1 foot in one religious expression and 1 foot in at SMCC. And he's telling me, I don't know which way I will go, but let me just tell you something. I've been inviting my friends to SMCC. I don't know if I believe what you believe, but my friends who definitely don't believe what you believe, I just want them there. I want them to experience this place. And I said, I can't believe that you would invite somebody. Man, I'm so honored. He says, because you've built a place that I can trust. And I can trust you with the invite of my friends. Guys, anecdotally, this is what's happening. We are accomplishing this together. But what about metrically? Is metrically a word? I'm not sure. Let's look at the data. How are we doing? Let's look at the metrics, okay? I just want to share this with you. This is our win. Look at this. At SMCC, average attendance has grown by 29% from 2,960 people last year to 3,845 this year on average, okay? With multiple Sundays over 4,000 people, and last Sunday with 4,591 people here. You are this church. Our church is made up of your attitude, your experience, your talents, your personalities, your spiritual gifts, your generosity, your participation. This is our win. You are your church. Our church is us. And so as we put all of this together, I hope you see that when it comes to the mission, it's happening. It's being accomplished. It's being accomplished through us. So I want to talk to us for just a moment. I want to just pause and speak to 4 groups of people at SMCC this morning. There are more, but I just want to talk to 4 and really encourage you and just explain a couple things. See, we realize that SMCC might be an important part of someone's life for a chapter of their life, for a season. They might be here for a specific moment, and for whatever reason, they might need to leave. It breaks my heart when that happens, but I understand that. But we think that there is value in being committed and participating season after season, chapter after chapter. And so I want to explain what it might take to get to a place like that by talking to 4 groups of people. The first person I want to talk to is the guest. You're here today, and maybe you're sitting in the back row in the dark shadows, and I'm so glad you're there. You can be anonymous there for as long as you would like. I just want you to know that you can go at your speed, you can go at your pace. We don't expect anything from you. And what you're experiencing today It has been put on and paid for by some of the people around you. It's their privilege to do so. They are just so excited to create an environment for you. You're our guest. We hope you have a wonderful experience here. There's a second group of people. You are excited to be here. You're not just a guest anymore. You sort of can't believe you found a place like this, you know? And you're taking your first steps out of the dark shadows in the back of the room to a team, or maybe into community. Maybe you're serving for the first time and you are just so excited to be here. You could call it the honeymoon phase. And I just want to prepare you for something. There will be a day that SMCC will let you down. And what I mean by that is not a little green logo. I mean a person here. I don't know who it might be, but let me just say this. It could be me, okay? I will, if you are around me long enough, let you down. I might fail you. And when that day comes, I just want you to know there's a way through it, that there is a way through that. I hope that, you know, as you experience that here, or maybe you experience that with me, that you would know something, that your passion for the vision, your passion for the culture, it can guide us through that. It can guide us through those difficult moments, those frustrating moments that simply come when you are in a community for any length of time. But it's my hope that you can move through the honeymoon phase to a phase where you are bought into the mission, where you love the vision and the culture. And because of that, you can go through difficult things. We can go through them together and come out the other side. Now there's a third group of people. You are the people that I just described as on the fence right now. Perhaps you've been coming for a little while and you got 1 foot in and maybe you've got 1 foot out. I just want you to know there are times in community where community gets frustrating, where it is pretty difficult. It happens all the time here. And sometimes I know when people are on their way out, often I hear about it much later, and it really is difficult. And I understand why, but I just want to say something to you really, really important. This is an important moment. For SMCC to be your place over the long haul, there are 2 things that you'll need to consider. First, a passion for the mission, and second, what it looks like to be a self-feeder. Here's what I mean by that. The longer you've been a follower of Jesus, the less we can do for you at SMCC, but the more we can do with you. If you want to make disciples, if you want to reach people that haven't been reached, SMCC is a great place to participate in the Great Commission. Now, you may need to supplement. You may need to supplement some of your growth with a podcast or a book, and I'd love to help you do any of that. But here's what you won't need to supplement: a passion for people who have experienced spiritual trauma. You will be able to participate in that here. I want you to participate in that here. Look, I can recommend books, I can recommend podcasts, we can get together and study Greek, we can do theology, we can nerd out, we can do that together. I cannot walk with every person who's experienced spiritual trauma. I cannot walk with them in the trenches. Our staff just doesn't have the time, the capacity, the margin to walk with the thousands of people who have spiritual baggage, who are carrying a load. We need you to do that. And when you do that, it will take you deep in your faith. When you do that, it will challenge you in your faith. We can supplement other things. You can self-feed in other ways. But if you want to be a part of the Great Commission and make disciples, you will have on-the-job training to do that right here. And we need you to do that. And if you do that, I doubt you will want to leave. Now, there's something I saw recently, a quick graphic that I wanted to share with you. This graphic explains the stages or the kind of the cycle of community that people go through. I just wanted to highlight this for just a moment. It's really a 6-stage cycle. For any community, this isn't just a church community, but for any community, here's what it looks like. There's the honeymoon phase. We've kind of discussed that a little bit. But then here's the next phase. There's sort of this apathy phase. You know what? Maybe it's not as exciting as it used to be. Maybe I'm getting a little bit bored. And then that leans into the next phase, frustration or fear. I'm frustrated with what I see, or I'm fearful of maybe taking the next step, or fearful of the vulnerability that might be required of me to go deeper. And so here's the crucial moment in the community cycle. There's a break in community. But if you can move through that, accepting the mission, accepting the vision, accepting the people here, flaws, failures, and all, there's a re-engagement, and that re-engagement produces health. Here's what I want you to know. A long-term, engaged disciple of Jesus at SMCC is not just discipled by us. They are disciples who make disciples with us. And I want to invite you to land there at SMCC. Not just being discipled by us, which, by the way, is happening. I mean, the amount of people in classes, the amount of people participating in spiritual disciplines like a fast that we had last week, it's out of control. It's crazy. It's so exciting to see. You can be discipled here, but to be engaged over the long haul, I want to invite you to be a disciple who makes a disciple here. And you will always be able to do just that. This brings me to the fourth person here, the veteran. The veterans, you know who you are. You have laid down your life for Jesus by laying your life down for the people he loves, and you've done it in this body called SMCC. You encourage me, you challenge me, your generosity, it inspires me. And I just want to say thank you. Now, what about that future? Where are we headed together in 2030? Well, let's talk about that now. I let you know that in the fall that your leaders here at SMCC are preparing really a multi-year strategic vision, a vision that will take us all the way to the year 2030. We've done that work, and we have 8 outcomes, 8 significant initiatives that we are working on, that we think we can accomplish by 2030, and if we do, people will be reached, taking their next steps towards devotion and delight, and God will be glorified in the process. And so I want to share with you 4 of those today. I'll share the other 4 at the next intermission. Here we go. Because we dream of a day that every generation in Utah is invited to a gospel community, we are committed to debt paydown and increased stewardship. At SMCC, we want to be a church that's effective, on mission, bearing fruit for 100 years. We are 25 years in, we have 75 years to go. And in order to impact future generations over the next 75 years, we need to continue to strengthen our financial position. It is strong today. We want to strengthen it even more. What we see is this. We anticipate paying down principal, an extra principal payment each year over the next 5 years, reducing the interest we pay on our loans, freeing up thousands of dollars to put back in to ministry to reach people. Debt reduction now on existing loans will increase our financial stability for years to come. We are committed to that so we can be a thriving church for years to come, pursuing 100 years together. That's the first initiative. Here's the second. Because we dream of a day that every act of service in Utah builds trust and a gospel friendship, we're committed to increasing our care for those inside and outside the walls of SMCC. Life is messy. Life is full of pain. Life is full of sorrow, and we want to be there for people. We want to be there as gospel friends in the most difficult seasons of life, building trust and loving people the way Jesus would want us to love them. With thousands of people attending SMCC, it is difficult to provide that type of care we would like to provide. So we want to enhance our compassion and care strategies, both inside the walls of SMCC and outside the walls in the state of Utah. And by doing that, I think we can make the love of Jesus undeniable to a watching world. And so we want to build trust in gospel friendships, being trusted friends in those moments, expanding compassion and expanding care, loving people the way Jesus would want us to love them. Here's the third initiative. Because we dream of a day that every community in Utah has access to a gospel church, we will build a permanent home for the Lehi Campus in Utah County. If you're watching at the Lehi Campus today, maybe you're even cheering right now. Listen, Utah County is now home to over 700,000 people. And by my count, there are less than 7 permanent church locations. The Lehi Campus is now reaching more than 400 people every Sunday. And by building a permanent structure in Utah County for the Lehi Campus, we can create a home for years to come, creating access to gospel community for hundreds of thousands of people, controlling our costs, creating better environments so that more and more people can have access to a gospel community. People had that access in Jerusalem in the first century. We want to continue to create that type of access in Utah County. We are so excited about that. And here's the fourth initiative in our 2030 vision. Because we dream of a day that every Jesus follower in Utah has experienced gospel delight, we will begin a program to develop leaders for gospel ministry. I don't know if you know this, but there is a pastoral leadership crisis in America right now. The average age of a pastor in America is over 60. Academic institutions are struggling to train, recruit, and equip young leaders for gospel ministry. That puts a very difficult future on the horizon for church, for gospel leaders. We think we can do something about that. We want to create a program that will train pastors, both for ministry in Utah and around the country, to address this so that more and more people can experience gospel delight because of their gospel leader in their life. We're going to create a program like that and perhaps in some way impact the tide of the pastoral crisis in America. Now, put all this together, our 2030 initiative is called Welcome to the Party, because as we engage these commitments, we think more and more people will be invited in to take their next step towards becoming fully devoted and fully delighted followers of Jesus. Now, real quick, this is a small thing. As you walk out today in the lobby, you're going to see a sticker that looks like this, says My Church on it. We just want you to take a sticker, put it somewhere. This is a way for people to hear about you and this community, but it's also a way for you to say, you know what? Man, I'm so excited about that future. I'm in. I want to be a part of it. This is my church. These are my people. This is my mission now. I'm a part of it now. At the end of every intermission, at the end of every hockey intermission, the buzzer sounds and it's time to get back into the game. And that time is now for us. Next week, we're starting a brand new series. I hope you are back for that. We have teams to build. We have environments to create. We have a culture to shape. We have a mission to engage. It's time to get back into the game. So let's do that together. But now that you know specifically what the game plan is, I hope you'll be able to participate. Thanks for listening. I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's message and trusting us with your time. If you'd like to connect with one of our pastors or staff, you can easily do that by visiting smccutah.org/connect. When you fill out that quick form, they will get back to you within a few days and be able to connect with you. As well, if you'd like to know more about taking a next step at SMCC, you can easily look at what next steps we have by visiting smccutah.org/next steps. And lastly, if you found today's message both hopeful and helpful, I would encourage you to do maybe one of two things. First, you can share this message with someone that would find it helpful. And you can also choose to partner with us financially so that more people can see messages like this. You can find more information on what that looks like by visiting smccutah.org/give. Again, thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you at one of our locations soon.